All right, time to dive deep into organic wine.
Oh, yeah.
You sent in this book, Vinos Organicos.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, I gotta say, I'm curious.
Yeah.
Are you like a total wine expert? Or are you just getting into, sustainable options and all
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Either way, grab a glass. Let's get into this together.
Sounds good.
What I think is really interesting about this book
Mm-hmm.
is that it kind of changes how we think about organic wine.
Yeah.
It's not just about, like, avoiding chemicals.
Right.
It's more about, like, a whole philosophy of production.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Thinking about the environment, the people,
Mm-hmm.
letting the wine, show where it's from.
Exactly.
So it has, like, a deeper purpose. It's not just a trend.
There's more than a trend.
The book really seems to say that it all starts in the vineyard.
Absolutely. They talk a lot about organic viticulture
Okay.
and how it's really about taking care of the land, fostering a healthy ecosystem.
So no, like, synthetic pesticides or herbicides, fertilizers.
Right.
They even mention composting,
Yeah.
which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
If you're into gardening at all,
Mm-hmm.
you might already be familiar with it, but imagine it on, like, a vineyard scale.
Right.
It's pretty amazing.
It's fascinating how they essentially create, this nutrient-rich compost using natural materials.
Yeah.
Really feeding the soil what it needs.
And that leads to healthier grapes,
Absolutely.
healthier wine for us, right?
Yeah.
But they also talk about minimal intervention during winemaking,
Yes.
which sounds really interesting.
This is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Minimal intervention really means letting those grapes, show their natural character,
Okay.
limiting those additives like clarifiers or stabilizers, and really embracing those variations that come from each vintage.
So it's like a hands-off approach,
Kind of, yeah.
letting nature do its thing.
Mm-hmm.
But how do we know if a wine is actually organic?
Right.
There's like a million labels out there.
That's where certification comes in. And, honestly, when I first saw a whole chapter on certification,
Yeah.
I thought, this is going to be boring.
Right.
But it's actually quite interesting.
Okay.
It's a real detective story
Right.
because you find out that there are different systems all over the world for certifying organic wine,
Oh, wow.
each with its own rules and inspections.
So organic in one country could be totally different from organic in another.
Exactly. It's not a universal term.
That seems hard to keep track of.
It is.
Wow.
But, that complexity also shows how seriously people are taking organic wine.
Okay.
There are all these systems in place to make sure that it's transparent, that it's authentic. So you can be confident that what you're buying actually meets the standards.
So it's more than just a label.
Way more.
It seems like a lot goes into making a bottle of organic wine.
It really does.
But the book also talks about these big goals for organic wine production.
Yes.
It's not just about being trendy or whatever.
Sure.
It's about making a real difference.
Absolutely. They talk about protecting the environment,
Okay.
making sure the soil is healthy, saving water, even promoting biodiversity.
Wow. So it's like this whole approach to winemaking,
Yeah.
taking the whole ecosystem into account.
Right.
But they also mention, keeping things healthy for us humans too.
Of course, that's a big part of it, too.
Yeah.
Making sure that the wine is healthy for the people who drink it.
Right.
And that's one of the big things that attracts people to organic wine.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
But they don't stop there.
Right.
The book also says the organic practices actually let the land's character,
Yeah.
the terroir, come
Yeah.
through in the wine.
Right. And that's what makes it so unique and special.
So we're talking about wines with like a real sense of place, a story to tell.
Exactly. Wines that reflect their origin.
Oh, that's cool.
But what surprised me was how the book goes beyond just organic
Oh, really?
and dives into this broader idea of sustainability in winemaking.
Okay, now I'm intrigued.
It's like they're saying organic is great.
But let's take it even further.
So what kind of sustainable practices are we talking about?
Well, they highlight things like water conservation, soil conservation,
Okay.
which are crucial, especially in regions facing drought or soil degradation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They also talk about energy efficiency,
Uh-huh.
encouraging wineries to use renewable energy sources,
Okay.
and just reduce their overall energy consumption.
So it's about being mindful of those resources
Exactly.
and minimizing the environmental impact of the whole process from grape to glass.
The whole journey.
Wow.
And it goes even beyond environmental sustainability.
Really?
They also talk about social responsibility.
So what does that mean when it comes to winemaking?
Well, they emphasize fair labor practices,
Okay.
making sure that working conditions are safe and healthy
Yeah.
for everyone involved in the process,
Right.
from the vineyard workers to the people in the cellar.
So it's about the people behind the wine, too. Absolutely. It's about creating a system that's sustainable and equitable for everyone.
So it's not just about the wine itself.
Right.
It's about the people, the community, the impact.
It's a whole interconnected web.
I'm starting to see how organic wine can be a reflection of our values.
Absolutely. It's about making conscious choices
Mm.
and aligning our consumption with our beliefs.
And what I love is how the book takes us on this, like, a global tour,
Yes.
showcasing organic vineyards from all these different regions.
It's a whirlwind tour of the organic wine world.
So it's not just a small niche thing.
It's global.
It's happening all over the world.
All over.
Did they mention any specific regions or countries that stood out to you?
They talk about some of the key producers like France, Italy, Spain,
Okay. Yeah, sure to those.
the United States, Chile, Australia,
Wow.
showcasing a real diversity of climates and grape varieties.
It was like a tasting tour of the world.
It really is.
That's so cool.
But they also acknowledge the challenges.
Oh, yeah, of course.
It's not all easy.
It can't be all sunshine and roses, right?
Right. They talk about the higher production costs,
Okay.
which often means higher prices for us consumers.
That makes sense.
And they mention the difficulties of adapting to different climates
Mm,
and competing with conventional wines, which still dominate the market.
yeah.
It's a tough landscape.
So it sounds like organic winemakers are facing a lot of obstacles.
They are.
But did the book offer any, like, hope for the future?
Oh, absolutely. They emphasize that the market for organic wine is growing,
Okay, that's good.
driven by consumers who want sustainable and healthy products.
Mhm.
People are more aware of the impact of their choices,
Yeah.
and they're actively looking for wines that align with their values.
So despite the challenges, there's this sense of optimism.
Definitely, there's a real momentum building.
That's encouraging.
Yeah, it's an exciting time for organic wine.
Now, I'm curious about this whole certification thing.
Yeah.
The book mentioned all these different systems and regulations. And to be honest, I got a little lost.
I understand it can be overwhelming.
Yeah, trying to figure out what all those labels actually mean.
It's like a secret code sometimes.
Right.
But don't worry, we're going to break it all down in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, good, because I'm ready to unlock those secrets.
We'll demystify those labels and figure out what it really means for a wine to be certified organic.
Perfect. Can't wait.
Welcome back to our organic wine adventure.
Oh, I feel like we've uncorked so much knowledge from this book, Vinos Organicos, already.
Right.
But I'm ready for more.
And there's plenty more to uncover, trust me.
Okay, good.
In this part, we're going to explore those health benefits.
Right.
We'll look at the environmental impact and even touch on the social and economic side of choosing organic wine.
Okay, so first up, health.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not expecting, like, organic wine to be some miracle cure.
Right.
But the book definitely hints at some benefits.
It does.
What did you find interesting?
You know what I appreciate is that the book doesn't make these crazy claims.
Yeah.
It just highlights those key differences between organic and conventional
Hmm.
that could impact our health.
Okay, like that whole thing about pesticide residue.
Yeah.
Conventional farming uses a lot of chemicals.
Right.
And I always wonder if that ends up in the wine.
It's a valid concern,
Yeah.
and the book addresses it directly.
Okay, good.
So while those pesticide levels in conventional wine are generally considered safe,
Mm-hmm.
some people just want to avoid them altogether.
Yeah, that's fair.
And organic wine offers that peace of mind, knowing that there are no detectable residues.
Okay, that makes sense.
So it's a choice
Mhm.
based on your personal preferences.
And what about sulfites?
Sulfites, the never-ending debate.
Right. Some people are sensitive to those.
They are.
And I'm a little fuzzy on, like, how they relate to organic wine.
So sulfites are these naturally occurring compounds,
Okay.
but they're also added to wine to preserve it.
Okay, to prevent spoilage.
Exactly. They keep the wine fresh and stable.
So they're like little guardians.
You could say that.
But the book mentions that some people have problems with them.
Right. Some people are sensitive to them.
Yeah.
And they can experience headaches, skin reactions, even breathing problems.
Wow, so what's the organic approach to sulfites?
Well, organic regulations often limit how much can be added,
Okay.
but they don't always ban them completely.
Interesting.
However, in the United States, USDA organic wine has to be totally sulfite-free.
Oh, wow. So if you really want to avoid them,
Yeah.
that's the label to look for.
Exactly.
Okay, so even within organic There are variations.
There are nuances.
Right, but the book also talks about what's in organic wine,
Yes.
not just what's not in it.
Right. They go beyond just avoiding things
Yeah.
and highlight the potential benefits of what's actually present.
Like what?
Antioxidants.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of those.
Those compounds found in grapes
Mhm.
that are said to have all these health benefits.
Right.
And there's some thought that those antioxidants might be even stronger in organic grapes.
Oh, really? How come?
Well, the theory is that because organic vines aren't treated with pesticides, they have to work harder to defend themselves
Interesting.
against pests and diseases.
So they're building up their defenses.
Yeah, clear.
And we benefit from that
Potentially.
through the wine.
It's a fascinating idea.
I like it. Is there any science to back that up?
You know, the research is still ongoing,
Okay.
but it's a promising area of study.
It makes sense. Healthier plants, healthier soil,
Right.
healthier wine.
It all connects.
Okay, let's talk about the environment.
All right, shifting gears.
I have a feeling this is where things get a little more serious.
Yeah, it's not all sunshine and roses.
Right.
The book doesn't sugarcoat the realities of conventional agriculture.
Okay.
It's honest about the environmental impact.
So tell me, what are the main concerns?
Well, it starts with the heavy use of those synthetic chemicals, pesticides, herbicides, fertilizers.
Right.
These can contaminate soil and water,
Okay.
disrupt ecosystems, even harm wildlife.
So it's not just the immediate impact on the vines.
No, it's bigger than that.
It affects the whole ecosystem.
It's a ripple effect.
Wow. I hadn't really thought about it like that.
And it goes beyond just the chemicals themselves.
Oh, really?
Conventional viticulture often uses heavy machinery,
Okay.
which compacts the soil and uses fossil fuels.
Right, so it's very resource intensive.
Very much so.
And what about water?
Water usage is a huge issue,
Yeah.
especially in drier climates.
I can imagine vineyards need a lot of water,
It do.
especially in those areas.
And conventional vineyards often rely on irrigation,
Right.
which can deplete water resources and contribute to shortages.
So we're talking about impacts on the soil, air, and water.
It's a triple threat.
It seems like conventional wine production can be pretty harmful.
It can have significant consequences.
And that's where organic viticulture comes in.
Exactly. The book really promotes it as a sustainable solution.
Okay.
They talk about minimizing those chemical inputs,
Right.
protecting the soil, saving water, promoting biodiversity
So it's about working with nature.
instead of against it.
I like that. What are some of those specific practices that organic winemakers use?
Well, composting is huge,
Yeah.
reduces waste, and creates natural fertilizer.
Makes sense.
They also use cover crops to prevent erosion.
Uh-huh.
And, of course, they avoid all those harsh chemical treatments.
So it's a holistic approach,
It is.
thinking about every part of the ecosystem.
Right. They also talk about biodiversity,
Okay.
encouraging different plants and animals in the vineyard
That's interesting.
to create that natural balance.
Like a mini ecosystem.
Exactly, a self-sustaining system.
So it's not just about what you don't do.
Right.
It's also about what you do to support a healthy environment.
It's a proactive approach.
And you still get delicious wine.
Of course.
It's a win-win.
Exactly. Who wouldn't want that?
Okay, now I'm curious about the people involved.
Yeah, the human element.
The book mentioned some interesting social and economic aspects. What were some of the highlights for you?
Well, they talk about how organic viticulture often leads to fairer labor practices,
Oh, that's good.
making sure working conditions are safe and healthy
For everyone.
for everyone involved.
So it's not just about the environment.
Yeah.
It's about creating a better system for the people, too.
It's about social justice as well.
Yeah.
They also discuss how supporting organic wineries can help rural economies
Right.
and preserve those traditional winemaking practices.
It's about community.
Exactly. It's about connection and supporting local businesses.
It makes you realize that every bottle of organic wine
Yeah,
tells a story
it does.
about the people and
Yeah.
the values behind it.
And it's a powerful story.
It's about making choices that align with what we believe in.
Absolutely. And contributing to a more sustainable and just world.
Wow. I'm really starting to appreciate how deep this whole movement goes.
It's more than just a trend.
It's not just about the wine.
It's about a way of life.
Yeah, it's about a better future.
And speaking of the future, in our next part, we'll tackle those certification processes,
Okay.
explore that sulfite debate,
Mhm.
and uncover the art of organic winemaking.
Sounds good. I'm ready to get into the nitty-gritty of how it's all made.
All right, let's do it.
All right, final pour in our organic wine deep dive.
It has been quite a journey.
We've uncorked so much already.
Yeah.
but I'm ready to savor those last few drops of
I
knowledge.
love that. And we have a great vintage to finish with.
Okay, perfect.
This time we're going to demystify those labels,
Okay.
tackle those sulfites,
Yes.
and get into the art of making organic wine.
Okay, certification. That's like the seal of approval, right?
Right. It's that guarantee.
It tells us this wine meets the standards.
Exactly.
But to be honest, when I first looked at that chapter on certification,
Mhm.
my eyes kind of glazed over.
Yeah, it can be a bit dense.
It's a little technical.
It's a lot of rules and regulations.
Right.
But you know what I realized?
Yeah.
All that complexity actually shows how serious it is. It's not just a random sticker.
Right.
It's a whole system
Huh.
to make sure it's transparent and real.
So it's like a detective story almost.
Kind of.
Uncovering what's behind those labels.
Exactly.
Figuring out what it all means.
And the book does a great job of breaking it down.
Okay, good.
They talk about all the different certification bodies,
Mm-hmm.
all the rules they have around the world.
Wow.
They highlight the European Union,
Okay.
the U.S., Canada, Australia, Chile,
Wow. All over the place.
each one with its own standards and requirements.
And they mentioned those different levels of certification too, right?
Right.
Like organic wine versus wine made with organic grapes.
Yeah, that can be confusing.
I've never really understood the difference.
So organic wine basically means the whole process was organic,
Okay.
from the vineyard to the bottle.
Okay.
But wine made with organic grapes
Mm-hmm.
means the grapes were organic,
Okay.
but some things might have been added during winemaking
Oh, I see.
that weren't organic.
So there's a difference.
It's subtle, but it's important.
It's good to know what you're looking for.
Read those labels carefully.
But all this complexity,
Yeah.
it's not just red tape.
No.
It's about making sure we can trust the label.
Right.
And that organic really means something.
It protects the integrity of the term.
And speaking of things that can be a little confusing,
Oh, yeah.
sulfites.
Ah, sulfites, everyone's favorite topic.
Right. We've all seen that warning on the label.
Contains sulfites.
But I'm not really sure what it means.
So sulfites are these compounds.
Okay.
They occur naturally,
Uh-huh.
but they're also added to wine
Okay.
to preserve it.
So they help keep it fresh.
Exactly. They prevent oxidation and spoilage,
So they're like little protectors.
keeping the wine from going bad.
But some people can't have them.
Right. Some people have sensitivities,
Yeah.
and they can experience headaches, skin problems, even trouble breathing.
So for those people, organic wine might be a better option.
Well, it depends. Organic regulations often limit sulfites,
Okay.
but they don't always ban them completely.
Right, except in the U.S.
Yeah, the U.S. is different.
USDA organic wines are sulfite-free.
Completely.
So that's good to know.
If you're sensitive to sulfites, look for that USDA organic seal.
Okay, good tip.
But the book also gets into this interesting debate
Oh, really?
among winemakers about whether we even need sulfites at all.
So some people think you can make good wine without them.
Some organic winemakers believe that with
Wow.
the right practices, you don't need them.
Interesting.
The wine can protect itself naturally.
So it's an ongoing conversation.
It is.
No easy answers.
No, but it shows how organic winemaking is about pushing those boundaries.
Okay, I'm ready to get into the actual winemaking now.
All right, let's get our hands dirty, figuratively speaking.
How do those grapes become the wine we drink?
It's a beautiful process.
The book made it sound so fascinating.
Organic winemaking really emphasizes minimal intervention,
Okay, so it's hands-off.
letting those grapes express themselves.
Tell me more about those techniques.
Well, wild fermentation is a big one.
Okay.
Using those naturally occurring yeasts.
Instead of adding them.
Right, it's riskier. But it can create these more complex wines.
Okay.
Wines that truly reflect the place they're from.
So each bottle's unique.
Exactly like a fingerprint.
That's so cool.
And they also try to minimize any additives,
Okay.
avoiding those harsh treatments.
Right.
It's about respecting the grape
Letting it be itself.
and letting its true character shine through.
It sounds like a very gentle approach.
It's a collaboration with nature.
And they mentioned energy efficiency in the winery too, right?
Oh, yes. They talk about gravity flow systems
Okay.
and natural temperature control.
To use less energy.
Exactly, to be more sustainable.
It's amazing how much thought goes into this.
It really is a holistic approach.
It's inspiring.
It's about caring for the environment and creating something beautiful.
And I think that's what makes this whole conversation so great.
Yeah,
It's not just about the wine itself.
it's bigger than that.
Mm-hmm. It's about the story behind it.
The values, the connection to the land and the people.
It's a reminder that our choices matter.
Absolutely.
Even something as simple as choosing a bottle of wine.
It can be a vote for a better world.
Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
I feel like I learned so much
Me too.
and gained a whole new appreciation for organic wine.
And I hope you'll explore it further.
Oh, I definitely will.
Seek out those organic gems.
I'm already planning my next trip to the wine shop.
And savor each sip.
And to our listeners, thanks for raising a glass with us.
Cheers.
Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those glasses full.
Of delicious, sustainable wine.